Good afternoon and welcome to the United Benefice of East Clevedon's Sunday reflection for the 11th Sunday after Trinity. We're going to revisit the Gospel of John, where he is again telling us about Jesus being the bread of life. That phrase is so emphasised in this Gospel, and it's obviously very prominent to his teaching because it's mentioned so many times. And for me, it's about the effect on us who believe in him, to the extent that he becomes the bread of life which nourishes us and sustains us and pleasures us. Jesus is our life force for now and for eternity. The Jews would have really struggled with this message partly because of their strict rules about what was clean and unclean in the realms of food and drink. And I guess many Christians do today, but I'm not going to diversify into those arguments. Instead, I want us to think about how essential God is to us. Have we absorbed him into our very beings so that he is as necessary to us for survival as food and drink? When you think of food and how it is for us both pleasure and necessity, think right from the beginning, the smells, the colour, the texture as we bite and chew, to the complex chemical reactions that happen in our system, and how those chemicals are transported to each and every soul in our body. And we can hopefully see both these things, the pleasure and the necessity. Is God a pleasure and a necessity for us? Or is it a duty that we fulfill because of training or habit or superstition? How do we find pleasure in God? Last week I talked of meeting God heart to heart, and the nearest example I can think of is when you meet a beloved friend or family member, that sense of being home with someone who knows you well and who delights in your presence. Because God does delight in our presence. As I wrote this, I was immediately reminded of visiting Becky every Monday. There was always pure joy on her face, a beaming smile, and love in her eyes. No recriminations of what we had or hadn't done, just sheer pleasure that we were there. I sometimes wonder, since her death, whether God is a bit like that. You've come to see me. How wonderful. Because, heretic that I am, I don't mind how you interpret the bread and wine at the Eucharist. I just want you to meet Jesus, to have him in the depths of your being, so that he is essential to you, but is also your delight. Each time we share the bread and the wine, each time we join with him in the silence of our hearts, our being is filled with him. We choose to have him as our light and our life. The reading from Proverbs ends, "Lay aside immaturity and live and walk in the way of insight." The chapter ends, however, offering the alternative. Stolen water is sweet and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. But do they not know that the dead are there, that her guests are in the depths of Sheol? They're choices we face every day. Choices about how we live our lives. Choices about how God informs our decisions. Is God as essential to us as the air we breathe, the bread we eat? Do we look forward to spending time with him? I know myself how many things can steal my time from God. How many times I make choices that seem sweet and pleasant at that moment. I'm going to leave you with this petition for God's presence from the 1558 Sarum Primer, which was a collection of prayers and resources from the 13th century collected in Salisbury Cathedral. And yes, our prayers stretch back through the centuries as all Christians ask to know God more deeply and to show his love in the way we live our lives. God in every cell of us, so that we can only reflect his love and his light. The words are this: God be in my head and in my understanding. God be in mine eyes and in my looking. God be in my mouth and in my speaking. God be in my heart and in my thinking. God be at mine end and at my departing. Amen. And may God bless you today and always.